Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Trap Draw. It's the booth. Sarge here. You know I got my guy Neil. How we doing, Neil?
Cody, it's good to see you. I'm doing well. It's been a minute. A lot going
Yeah.
on my end. I'm down in my dad's dungeon. I already checked with Phil. He said I could use my AirPods. My office will be set up soon, but we're kind of just living in purgatory these days out in the hills of New Jersey. But I'm fired up, man. I'm fired. We haven't been in the booth in a while. Haven't had the
Oh,
interrogation light on me in a while.
we have it. And you got a lot going on. I'm very excited to figure it all out with you. And it sounds like you're trying to front run a mea culpa here by the AirPods thing, which I appreciate. You're trying to get ahead of it before it becomes something larger. Of course, Trap Draw, we got to give a shout out to our guy, Mr. Jeezy. And I put a call out. I did an episode. Me and TC were chopping it up a couple weeks back. I went in to pull some listener line voicemails, and there was nothing in there. So people, you got to fill it up. 833-330-8725. I check them all the time. And if they're voicemails of importance, what are the old timey dispatches? Where I'm
Yeah.
plugging wires in and everything in the circuit board or whatever it is. I will get them where they need to go. But if I don't have any voicemails, then I can't send them on their way. Anyway,
833-330-8725. Come on, what's burning, people? It's off season, right? Perfect time for some voicemail episodes, some listener line stuff. Get at us. We're
I'm
here,
surprised. I
okay?
didn't even have. I was expecting to open it up and have our hitter Pete from Philadelphia. He's usually got
Yeah.
some fire Phillies takes and Eagles stuff in there. Nothing. Lane. I don't know what he's been doing. Obviously watching K-State football, but our normals. I don't know where they're at. Anyway, Trap Draw booth proudly presented by our friends at ServPro, the #1 brand in cleanup and restoration, known for making any mess like it never even happened. With over 2,200 locations nationwide, they're faster to any size disaster. Please visit servpro.com or call 1-800-SERVPRO today. Neil, what do you got, brother? Any mea culpas you're brewing on?
Yeah, I was front running a little bit. Just the podcast, my current setup, just my brain space, a little scattered. I feel like I've been pulled in a million different directions. I do well working in chaos, but like not having a setup is that almost a sign, Cody, that I'm getting old. Like I like having an office where you walk in, you hit record on the board, you got everything's like right where it should be.
You
So I
are
feel
you are a
a
creature of habit, and you respect a routine.
I do. I think it's because I'm a little bit, up and down, maybe personality wise, like hot and cold. I think I really come to appreciate like my space. Like all right, I'm not like a neat freak, but I like to have my space, and so I feel my mea culpa would just be that I don't have my space. Apologies to Phil, our audio editor, on me if there's any audio issues. He's going to work some magic, which I think the audio engineers at NLU have been because of this stupid USB mic that's been effing everything up. They've come up with some AI solutions to make that happen. Anyway, that's one. And two, I deserve a mea culpa from
Ooh.
Bills fans everywhere. They owe me an apology for my prescient AFC East takes. The Patriots 5-2. I mean, just falling out. Mike Vrabel, leader of men. I know it's early, but like that does not look like the Patriots winning the AFC East does not look like a bad take anymore, people. Okay. Oh, Neil the Junior knower. Bullshit. Okay. I all the people that had that vitriol for me in the DMs, I expect to hear from you sometime this season. Thank you.
I'm trying to think of who else. What other teams did you call out? I know you were riding high in the Cowboys too, which honestly, even though the record doesn't show it, Cowboys are playing really good football.
Dude, best offense in football right now. I will say where I was wrong, I was so wrong on the Raiders. And just the AFC West is kind of like I can't tell who's the Chiefs are kind of back, but like Broncos and the Raiders are awful. It's just another lesson in like maybe like 74-year-olds shouldn't be running like really complex organizations. Well, we could save that take. That I think that traveled across industries. Chargers, so I was wrong about a few of those. Falcons are a little trick or treat right now. God, I thought the Panthers would stink, but they keep winning games. So I was, yeah. And very wrong about the New York Jets, though it's been really. I've watched every Jets game this year. It's been really fun. As someone who's kind of like, I don't know, I'm not really a fan of the Jets. I'm just like it's fun to observe them. I don't know. They're just, they're on every Sunday. Like truly the worst game I've ever watched is that one 2 weeks ago in London. Like the worst quarterback performance of all time. It was something to behold. So anyway, this is not a ball knowers episode, but that
No, no, no,
I
no.
wanted to get that out there.
And listen, I asked to follow up there. I will say this. Speaking of disappointing games in London, I'm sure your brother's going to have a lot to let loose. He's currently flying back from the London game, and I know he'll be back on the
Well,
mic
I'll
next
tease
week.
this. We are in the midst of scheduling a big name for the next ball knowers episode. Really excited about the guest we're trying to land.
An
Who
actual ball knower.
an actual ball knower, borderline Hall of Famer. So we'll see how that shakes out.
True. And somebody very familiar with NLU content, that's for sure. Hey, I'm going to meet you right there. You're kind of love and you talk about the Jets, and it's not really a football thing, but it's everything else that goes along with it. You have family invested, and I completely got caught up. We've been in Texas now for year 3, and I finally realized college football it has got a lot going on in these parts. And I've abstained up until this year, and I got so caught up in the hype of the damn Texas Longhorns,
Of
man.
course, of
And
course.
I'll say this, outside of one football player, I thought Archie, and he still is so young and has so much to grow into and learn. And I think he's turning the corner. They just were literally ranked way, way too high to start the season. But 5-2 now, obviously a lot of clear mistakes that are out there. My mea culpa is picking a university strictly for like their branding, and for me thinking that like this is probably the safest bet that I can make. It's a
Yeah.
lot safer than throwing pistols up and going tech. It's way safer than trying to defend myself and being an A&M fan. TCU, maybe a couple years back when they were good, but I just don't really like the color purple. SMU, I'm sorry, can't really do it, but it's a lot going on. And in the groups that I run with, you have to declare one of these teams. Like all my
Yeah.
dad friends were very much like, all right, man, you've been here for like 3 years. You gotta say something. You gotta be invested somewhere.
Well, the burnt orange, Texas is sexy. I mean, I feel that way too. Like, and it helps, like you said it. So the Jets, I can't stand the Giants. I feel like a phony rooting for like the Yankees and some other New York teams, but the Jets, like, they stink. So it's like, okay. And my brother-in-law is just like a diehard fan, and that's contagious. So it's fun to be able to text with him during games about like, I mean, candidly, the Jets defense looks really good. I mean, they're
Yep.
holding everybody like to like 14 points or less. It's kind of crazy. They just made the wrong choice at quarterback, and it just doesn't look good. But they're just such a disaster that I feel like no pressure to, I feel like I'm buying low, which is good. With Texas, a good friend of mine, Jerry Bell, massive Texas fan. So that's
Mhm.
also contagious. And I find them from afar a lot easier to root for than, some of the other Texas teams or teams in the former Big 12, I guess you could say. More so because, I don't know, maybe it's because they have had some struggles basically since Vince Young. I mean, they've been like kind of crappy, like other than like
Like
last
really
year and the
crappy.
last couple years. It's like, it wasn't fun to be a Texas fan.
No.
And I almost find like, I feel like it's more fun to root for those kind of teams than jump on like some, you know, winning bandwagon too late. So
No.
I don't fault you for rooting for Texas. Now the Arch is interesting. He, it's like, yeah, there's some definite high level, some loud traits there with his, he's athletic. He's kind of put in a tough position, maybe by himself and the people around him, when he's on like Warby Parker and like Viore commercials, like during the game he's playing in. It's like, man, it all just seems a little premature, and what a good situation for him last year to come in garbage time and, just run all over the yard and play loose while Ewers does all the dirty work for him as a starter. I think everybody just got a little caught up in it. And then, yeah, it just doesn't help that it's the first big example for me of like, the NIL stuff can add like this abstract pressure, I think,
Yes.
that is underrated right now in college athletics.
even though you'll say, and you hear it a lot from, those close to not just the Mannings, that side of the family, but also like Texas football, like, no, no, we're protecting him. He's not seeing any of that. He's 100% focused on his football and in his grades. And you're like, I just don't know if that's possible this day and
Yeah.
age.
I think he seems like a sincerely like good kid, and he's got to play better. He just it's like inaccurate, throwing off his back foot, especially in that Ohio State game. I mean, he looked pretty good against Oklahoma. But it's just, yeah, it's a tough spot, man. He's young. And I do also appreciate, though, that he seems like he wants to stick around, another year. It's not like he's trying to jump immediately. But then, financially, like, why would you? He's probably
No, no, no.
breaking. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
if you're looking at it short-sighted, but I can only imagine somebody of his pedigree coming from, and with the influences that he has around him, that he is like, okay, so this is my first year starting for the University of Texas. I still have another 16 years left of football in me,
Yeah.
you know, and another 3 of these years are going to be spent in Austin, but I'm going to have a long professional career. And maybe that's
Hopefully.
not, well, hopefully I'll say this, like, I think he reads the field well. He like gets, if his first read isn't there, he has like one check down, and then it's just like frantic, and he's like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, and starts rushing things. And I think all that's like growth and maturity, and learning the playbook, and like, just being comfortable trying to be a leader on that team.
Well, the only thing I can, relate to my college football career, I remember how fast the game was my freshman and sophomore year. And it does slow down. As you get older, it just slows down a little bit. So I'm willing to give him some patience. It's just I can understand how people wouldn't do that, because it's like, yeah, he's all over every freaking
Yeah.
commercial and like the name and stuff. It's just he's gonna have to rise to it a little bit. But it definitely hasn't been I wouldn't call it a success to start the year for the Longhorns.
No, but you know what has been a success, and I'll flip this over into my FCS minute, University of Montana. And you know what? We're absolutely vibing right now. 7-0 overall, number 1 of the Big Sky Conference, Neil. And I say this, the reason why UT hooked me last weekend, for the first time in like 10 years, University of Montana used to have copper and gold as our school colors. We flipped it. We went with the throwback unis for homecoming weekend, and they were absolutely fire. Okay. It was the first time ever like any Montana school has made Sports Center strictly because of throwback uniforms. That's how good they look. You saw my orange hat that I was wearing
I did see
the other
that.
day.
And we were also
Anyway,
up filming some stuff in Montana. A lot of Grizz signs. People ride for the state university up there,
I
which is
love,
fun to see.
not the state
Not the
university.
state,
Don't
not
don't
Montana State. You're right. You're right. But it is a state school.
very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. So more of a category there, not Montana State itself.
I plenty of ball up with Montana boys. I love it. Anyway, ServPro, hot or cold, fire and ice. They're faster to any size
Iron
disaster. It could
Ice.
make it like it never even happened. Please visit servpro.com or call 1-800-ServPro today. Neil, you mentioned it. You're moving, you're shaking. You just have a lot going on. What's up with your life, man?
Yeah. So since we last caught up, just a lot coming at me. So two big things. One, my second child's due in 2 weeks, November
That's
8th.
big.
So that's
Congratulations.
fantastic.
I'll say this
Don't
real quick before you front run that one. You
Yeah.
held on to that announcement for a long time.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I don't know. I think maybe we've been doing this a long time. It's kind of living a semi-public life is you're starting to see a little bit of the downsides of that. And just didn't really I think I brought it up on a Nest pod or something, but like I don't, need to share all that. I'm really excited. So that kind of was the catalyst for us moving. I was kind of staring down like a winter in a apartment in New York with, a 20-month-old and a newborn. I was like, I've been ready to get out of town, get to a place where it's a little easier to play golf. And my in-laws live out in this area in New Jersey. So I'm excited. And the timing worked out pretty well. So we moved right at the week after the Ryder Cup. So it's been kind of like just a sprint. I spent a week in Bethpage, and then moved the following October 2nd. But so far so good. I got a little small, like some renovation, adding a shower to a bathroom so that we have like a guest room once his baby comes. So my parents can visit. My parents they visited last week. It was great to like, again, had never really been able to host my parents. I'm 36 years old. So that's kind of like, that made me feel kind of proud, which is good. And it
Meaning
was great
host
to,
under the same roof.
yeah, like in New York or San Francisco, like, or even down in when we lived in Jacksonville, they always had to stay in a hotel, which I always feel guilty about. It kind of puts pressure on them, expense wise when they travel to see, Carson and I. So like right now we all, P slept in the baby's room, they slept in his room, and then hopefully we'll get what will be my office. We'll also have a nice sofa bed. So I've been doing a lot of research on sofa beds, deep in the
Fascinating.
weeds. But yeah, I'm really excited to get the bathroom. You think it's a small job. It's kind of like a mini house. I got the plumbers are here right now, putting the toilet back in. My guy, George, the tile guy, was the man. He was from Slovenia, I think. My dad and him hit it off talking World War II history, Carpathian Mountains. It's like, Dad, you got to let George get back to work. The carpenters, absolute menaces. So highlight in doing this, put in a dog door. Life goal achieved, Cody. I've always wanted the dog door. Sonny loves it. I was worried the door kind of looks small, and you're like, oh my God, is she gonna be able to fit? I mean, it's like it's in their DNA. Sonny and Elvis both immediately were like, oh yeah, I know exactly what to do with this door. So
Now they
that's
just straight
how.
torpedo in and out of it like it's no
Yeah,
big
but they
deal.
got, a little mud room. I
Yeah.
got her set up, so that's good. I don't have to worry as much about like Sunny in the morning, and she's pretty. I like the idea of the dog being self-sufficient. We got a fenced-in backyard, so all good there. And then the carpenters, they built a little gate off our deck, like, from scratch, and just watching these guys work, that do woodworking, is super impressive. But I do want to
Oh,
give a shout out. Take a quick minute. I want to shout out Doug. All right, so Doug is I've been working the guy that built the house is Scandic Builders, who are like, I was like, oh, great. Like they're working next door at my neighbor's house, and they were cool enough to like do a small job for me. It worked out because they built the house. They kind of know where everything is. Great. I think I shouted them out like on our last booth or whatever. And so I was at a neighborhood. The neighbors had a party over the weekend, and Chemo, who runs Scandic, and his wife were at the party. And his wife was like, she introduced herself, and she's like, "Hey, are you on a like golf podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." He's like, "My brother sent me a clip of you like talking about, you know, Chemo," and he was all jacked up, and they were like, what? They didn't know what was going on. And so I just wanted to shout out Doug again. I was like, oh, he wasn't listening to the main pod. He was listening to the trap draw. And
he's
so
deep.
so that means you're deep in it. And nothing to this day, entering year 12, nothing tickled me more than like somebody sending a trap draw on. Like, I know Randy was doing a breakdown on our 10 strain challenge, and like a bunch of people sent it to, Evan's dad, like, because my buddy Evan and Kim were in the strain challenge, and Randy's talking about their dad who goes by the king of discipline, and you're like, this is awesome, man. That's shit. And I just get such a kick out of it because yeah, it's just kind of like the deep cuts only. So anyway, shout out to Doug, shout out to Chemo. I'm excited to get this work done, but
I love that. But listen, before that was a great overview. There's so many things when I imagine somebody moving out of New York City that go into this. So I kind of want to break this down a little bit. Number one, you're going to get there, but you're struggling with a massive pile of cardboard. But my
yeah.
question is, moving out of the city, because I always heard this things like you can't have a moving truck during the day, like you have to moving trucks come at night, or like how does this whole thing kind of work?
Well, I'm excited to not deal with like the building management company anymore. But yeah, you got to like schedule the movers. So we had a moving company. They were great, and that we kind of knocked it out in one day. We didn't have, it was not a huge apartment, so it wasn't a ton of stuff to move. You schedule like, hey, then they hang like curtains so you don't damage the they're worried about the elevator.
Okay.
Like getting furniture down the elevator. And I was on the 5th floor. So you schedule that, and they so yeah, but got our like security deposit back. Like the building
That's
super
good.
was. Shout out to Ronan. I loved my super, and he was cool. Like he did a walkthrough with me. He's like, dude, you're good. Everything in here's like all the holes in the wall are like less than the size of a nickel. Like I'm not
I
gonna.
love that because I know that was a concern.
It was a concern because yeah, like you got to you start taking stuff off the walls. Like I'm chipping paint here. He's like, we're gonna paint. Don't worry about it. Like that's built in. So there was no. It was very smooth getting out of New York out to here. And then once you get out here, though, the movers, you're bumping up against like 5, 6 p.m. And my, I can't really unpack my office stuff because I don't want it to get all dusty. And so I'm like, leave those in the boxes. And then like I tried to get them to take as many boxes, but like I am like unnecessarily stressed out about the amount of cardboard I have. And then because the town where I live only picks up every 2 weeks, like recycling. And like, I got like a 50 or 60 gallon cardboard jug, but you got to break it all down. It takes up so much space and you got these big ass boxes. And like, I don't want to throw it away. I feel like guilty about throwing cardboard in the trash. So it just kind of sits in the garage right now. Well, that means I can't really like organize the garage, so you just feel, again, it's that feeling of purgatory where you're like, okay, I'm just going to put it all here. But then every time I like go out there, it's just a reminder of like, what am I going to do with that? So, and there's a recycling center, but you got to prove that you're a resident. So I haven't been to the DMV yet to change my ID. So it's like all of this stuff just kind of, and we're, 3 weeks into moving. It starts to be like, that's the like stuff that makes you feel unsettled a little bit.
Yep.
And then for me, if you combine that with, a baby on the way where you're like, well, November 8th, or, probably anytime in November, like the clock's ticking, homie. Like you're not going to be, I don't know how much cardboard, breaking down you're going to be doing, through the end of the year. That, and then, it's like, it's for us, it's like business planning, strategy, renewal season. It's just, I feel like a lot coming at me. I've tried to be nice to myself, be lying if I said I wasn't a little burned out. But I'm pretty good at like, when I get in that, burnout headspace of like, just get something done today. You know what I mean? Like start breaking it down into like one step at a time. Like, what do you have to do? Let's do that. So we're making progress, but yeah, it's a lot of just like real world life stuff coming at me right now. And I think I really do think it'll help once I can, but I'm really looking forward to like setting up my office, putting up some art, like just getting settled, and I'm really excited about the space. It's like above the garage. It's like got its own little stairwell and stuff. It's like kind of like, I'm gonna call it the vibrary, just ready to get, just start nesting a little bit as winter's coming. That said, listen, leaves are popping out here in the Somerset Hills. It's like full on leaf peeping season. So a lot of good stuff going on. It's just, it feels like I got a clock ticking in the back of my head a little bit to get some of this like dad stuff done before this baby comes.
Well, that's a lot on the office, but I'm sure, knowing you and the missus, the rest of the house has to be settled by now. I mean, you got, Petey running around. I assume that the nesting is going well.
It's going well. I mean, we've got some of the bigger stuff, but I hate returning things. And so buying, modern day, you buy furniture online, it shows up. Carson doesn't like the way it looks. And then it's like my job to like, okay, you need, this
Get rid of
furniture
it.
comes with like all this foam and tape and just all this cardboard. And I'm like, oh my God, and she's like, well, I'll schedule the, FedEx. I'm just like, it just stresses me out. I'm like, if it was up to me, it's not my favorite thing, but let's keep it, and it's, good news is my wife is not going to settle for that. So it's like, okay, we'll send it back. But I think every week we're making progress. There's no art on the wall right now, and like there's things are temporary. Now I will say this, my parents came up, my parents are thinking about moving, and my dad's got this like workshop down in Atlanta. And my mom's like, you're going to have to clear out. We call it the Sagrada Familia because he's never really finished the workshop, but he's always just working on the workshop. Like that church in Barcelona that like will never be built, like fully completed. And so I was like, he was like, hey, you want some of my tools? I was like, hell yeah. I want some
awesome.
of your tools. Cause I've got this unfinished, like crawl space that's like exactly 6 feet. So I got, I'm like just over 6 feet. So like, especially when my hair's popping, it's like, it's just a little too short, but it's like dad's dungeon down here. So my parents drove up last week or a couple weeks ago, and my dad brought me some tools. He's got like the Milwaukee
Sweet.
stuff. He's got like some of
Yeah.
those carrying cases for screws and stuff. So I'm just like pumped. I ordered a vise and some club regripping stuff. I want to get in the regripping game.
Listen,
I know. I gotta
welcome,
watch it.
but watch out. People are they're right up there with the barbecue aficionados. And I'm not talking about grilling. I'm talking about smoking. People are very particular about how you're putting grips on and the equipment that you use.
I know. So but I want to get in the game. I've never regripped clubs before, and I'm like, oh, this will
Wait,
still be a
ever?
nice little. Never done it.
Do you know how to do it?
No, but I'm gonna learn. I mean, you just watch a
I
YouTube
love that.
video.
Hell yeah,
Yeah, like
man.
why not? I just ordered like the little kit and a vise, and feel like I got everything I need. I'm a able-bodied individual,
God,
maybe
next thing
I'll.
you know, you're gonna get mega magnets and everything. You're gonna be hand stamping, putting names and clubs and
Yeah, I
doing
got some
paint
like
fills.
cool golf brag grips. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's change up because I'm not gonna be playing a ton of golf heading into November. I probably got like one round left in me.
God, do
A
you know what
year.
the best part about November? And you mentioned it earlier about how you're kind of like a creature of routine and habit, starting your morning off. That's why I asked about the rest of the house. Your kitchen's got to be dialed. That means your coffee setup's got to be dialed.
Kitchen style, nice transition because this episode of the Trap Draw is brought to you by Stone Creek Coffee, a beverage, a belief
Mm.
system, and possibly the only thing tethering us to this plane of existence.
Ooh,
Stone Creek is the official coffee of the Trap Draw and the official sponsor of men who thought home ownership would simplify things.
no.
Simplify things is in quotes. Neil just bought a house. He's already thinking about refinancing. That's not true. Cody's aerating his turf like he's prepping Augusta for the rapture. Somewhere between a mortgage payment and a meltdown, the line between a man and lawn has blurred. Who aerates whom? Both men are waging war against entropy with one weapon, coffee. At Stone Creek, they've been roasting in Milwaukee since 1993, a city built on grit and the shared belief that you can fix anything with caffeine and a Miller High Life, sometimes consumed at the same time. At Stone Creek Coffee, they source from real farmers, roast with surgical precision, and deliver straight to your kitchen counter. Each brew is a bulwark against the encroaching chaos of family life and crabgrass. Each sip an affirming whisper, I am still in control. Whether you're pulling weeds, lobbying Jerome Powell, or explaining to a 3-year-old why we don't eat mulch, we've got you. Drink something that doesn't taste like regret. Drink something that says, I can still become the man I'm meant to be, even after I've cussed out the sump pump in front of my toddler. Head to StoneCreekCoffee.com and use code NLU2025 for 15% off your first order, free shipping over $50, which is less than you spent on smart bulbs that only work when Mercury is in retrograde. Stone Creek Coffee for dads, for turf guys, for anyone seeking control over the uncontrollable. Man, put that one in the Hall of Fame.
A
That's
plus,
good stuff.
A plus, Drew.
I
That
do
was
have
an
some light
incredible
bulbs.
read.
I do have some smart bulbs I got to buy. I got about 5 lights burned out.
Make sure you pay attention to the numbering on those because you never know.
Well,
And the
I
different
also
like
want to. No, I got
cool,
my
warm.
electrician. Check this out. The big homie Steve. I had some like switches that were at war with each other, and the lights were like one's like the master switch, one's the subordinate switch, but they were like wired wrong. But it turns out this guy's a massive golfer, so I ended up talking golf with him for like 90 minutes. But I'm gonna have Steve help me out with those light bulbs. It's been nice. My thought process on like this little this bathroom thing was like, if I don't do it now because of this kid, I'm not gonna do it for like 2 years. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's just like get this done. Started it like 2 weeks before we moved, and hopefully it's done this week. I'm gonna be happy once it's done because I don't want to set up in my office and then constantly think like, oh, it'd be nice if we, like it was just a half bathroom. It's like that's not gonna work for guests. So anyway, I'm pumped to get it done. I do have a little bit of FOMO this week though. You guys are going down to Frisco Club Championship. Nothing's really more my shit than meaningless competition. The whole squad's getting together. But
Did you try to ask permission for this trip?
I did. But you know what? I talked to Carson about it because we're right on that cut line of like, and I'm glad I'm not going because we're still going to deliver, or she's still going to deliver. We're not delivering. She's delivering
Oh,
in New York City,
okay.
which is, the hospital is like 90 minutes away. So that's stressing me out a little bit. Like I don't like the idea of, and obviously if something happened, we could go, there's a good hospital nearby. But like when we decided to move, like no doctor wants to take over like midway through a pregnancy, so it's kind of like, all right, well, I don't think it's going to be an issue, but being far away, I just didn't feel good about that. There's, again, having this construction around, like I got to show the plumber, hey, here's the water on off valve. Here's, like, you just kind of got to be around to like move this stuff along. So I think good decision, but I am between this Roost Club Championship last week, NIT, like I'm off the road, and that's the right decision, but I do have a little bit of FOMO because this is all the stuff that I like love about what we do.
Roost Club Championship, it was a vibe. I don't know if you have any comments or anything, but I know you've tried to lead the team to victory in the past.
I have.
We got it done this year. But
I
I don't
know,
think
and
that's not because you were not included by any means. I think it was just our time, hard work, dedication. Just
I
takes a
got
little bit of
some
time.
some unfinished business with the Roost Club Championship. But I'm proud of you guys. I'm thrilled that Team NLU got it done. Yeah, it's a hole in my resume that been bounced in the semifinals twice, which it sounds like your semifinal matchup was where, once you got through that, you kind of rolled in the finals, which is great. Anyway,
Yeah, it
this
was
isn't a golf podcast, Cody.
not a golf, but we can
The last
celebrate victories.
the last thing, we always celebrate dubs. The last thing I'll say, unless you have questions for me on just moving, I did, and I want to shout you out because when we were in Montana, I asked you and Ben, I was like, guys, I'm not like a grill master. I know my way around a grill. I want to get better at grilling. I need reps, but I was like, what do I need to be thinking about with a grill? And I went with a Weber, and I got the Genesis SX 325 Smart Gas Grill. I got a deal, like it was on sale. I don't know if I'll use the smart capabilities of it, but it's like a level up from like their like smaller one. The reason I got it is I got like a gas hookup from the house, so like
Yeah.
this had like the natural gas connector, and the smaller one, which I was looking at, like the very basic one, didn't have like a back on it.
Okay.
And this is going to be outside, and I didn't want like the grease pan to get like a bunch of squirrels and like critters in there. So this one has like fully enclosed on the back, and I don't have to worry about that. So I'm excited about my selection. It's in the garage. It was delivered yesterday. I have to put it together.
Put that on the list.
Well, and I've actually been pretty good. I got the baby gates set up on the stairs. Put together a bunch of furniture. I'm pretty good with the erector set. Follow the directions. Build the kitchen chairs stuff. I'm so sick of Allen wrenches. I've got like, all these furniture sets come with an Allen wrench. I probably have like 25 Allen wrenches. I like refuse to throw them away. I'm like, I might use this again. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I got 75 Allen wrenches that are the same size. I need to get rid of some of these.
And you have to fit them in like the tightest little, like, fit them between these tiny little planks here and try to twist them down.
Exactly. But don't twist too much because you don't want to crack the wood,
For sure.
But I was pretty proud of myself. My dad and I did the first gate, and I did the second one on my own. I had to get kind of crafty with the banister. I think, with some reps, I think I'm not quick with this home stuff, but I'm pretty, I don't know. I don't mind doing it. Like I'm
You'll
looking
pick it
forward.
up.
I gotta find an hour or two to build this grill, and then I'd like to cook some burgers this weekend.
Mm. That-
Get kind of maiden voyage going. But you
If
and Ben specifically told me like, don't you like I didn't want to get like a Traeger with the
no, no,
pellet.
no, no.
I'm not in the 301 class. I don't need an egg right now. Maybe in the future. I just need the most basic gas grill to get my bearings, I've been city living for so long. I haven't done a ton of grilling.
Well, I'll say this. The number one thing about your grill is taking care of your grill and your maintenance of it. Once you get it put together and you get I'll even give you a couple months of cooking there. it goes beyond just scraping that grate out. You got to make sure that that thing stays clean. And that means
Yeah.
occasionally taking the grate out, taking the components out, scrubbing it, vacuum, get a shop vac. You got to get a good shop vac. Add that to your
Yeah.
list, and make sure that all the little dusts and grime and grit and everything gets out of there. That is a great fall project. And this brings up something that I wanted to talk to. Fall projects. It's a busy time of year for people down like me down in the South. It doesn't really feel like much, but I know people up north, man. Everybody, clean your grills out right now because grilling season goes a lot longer than you think it ever will. And once it starts getting a little bit cold, you don't want to be out there cleaning stuff up. You want to be able to go out there, fire it up, turn that gas on, let it warm up, throw your steaks on, burgers, whatever else it is, and just let it rip. The same thing with your gutters. It is prime gutter season with all these leaves starting to fall, people. You're not just out there, raking them up from your yard, trying to figure out where you're going to, get rid of them because just like you said, maybe they only come and pick up yard debris once a month or who knows where you found a place to dump it at. You got to clean your gutters out. So as soon as all those leaves are down, clean them out because there's nothing worse than clogged up gutters in wintertime. It's how you find leaks in your roof, and nobody wants that.
So the woman I bought the house from, I inherited Marlo, who takes, he cuts the grass once a week.
Oh,
And
love that.
we had like just a mega, like, because in the, 3 months that we bought in July and the weeds got out of control. And I was like, okay, I declared bankruptcy on the weed. I had his guys come over. I was like, just get me back to homeostasis. And when we were over talking about like where to weed, they did a fantastic job. First off, he's going to clean my gutters for me at the, in first week in November. Because
Love it.
basically I just want to get everything back to like where it's at. And then we can reassess as we head into the winter. I did buy a weed whacker, which I'm pumped about. I think a big project for me over the next, basically by spring, is I want to have like a path around the fence. I got like a pretty, wetlands, like wooded area. I'd like to be able to like walk the property, like, with the dog. And right now it's like heavy undergrowth. So Carson started rolling her eyes. I think the weed whacker, we'll see how that does. Probably not going to handle some of this heavy brush, but I was looking up the, what's a brush hog rental at Lowe's or Home Depot? It's like, I don't know, $300 or $400 for, maybe for the week. I can't remember. It was like, Carson,
that sounds like a week price.
I think it was a week. Yeah.
Daily rentals are not that much.
And I was like, I just started giving her the Tim Allen, just, going to be out there just humming with this thing at some point.
What was that?
Find the time.
Last month when I rented that jackhammer, I just did like a day rental. So I picked it up at 8 and had it turned in by like 3 in the afternoon. And I could have went all the way to 6 at night if I wanted to, but the job was done. I think it cost me $35.
That's great.
Incredible.
Yeah. I know. I was like, I'll go I'll go rent something and seems like a fun project. I'm almost waiting for winter for some of the stuff to die, because I think it's going to be easier to clear it out once once it gets cold. And that would be like a good reason for me to be outside. Like if you're outside with a project, and it's freezing, it's not as bad as when you're just like out for a walk, I find.
You want to talk about your weed eater? I don't know. When you told me that you purchased the weed eater, I think you thought I was going to be disappointed because you went electric. And I by no means poo-poo on electric stuff.
I went with one of those egos, I got the blower and the
combo. Love it.
Yeah, and it came in a combo set. I got a deal, and I got it's a string trimmer.
Mm-hmm.
But like I took it out and like hit some light stuff just to test it, and it was like, fuck, this thing's super powerful. I got the protective goggles. I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready to go.
Safety first.
I don't think it's not going to cut branch. I don't want to use it on branches, but it's great on some of this undergrowth stuff. So I think I can, we'll see how it does, and then we'll adjust from there.
What I will tell you about the electric thing is that there's nothing more frustrating while using electric powered blower. And I have electric blowers and an electric weed eater. I just don't really use it that much anymore, but I use my blowers all the time. There's nothing more frustrating than getting halfway done with a project when you need it and the fucking battery runs out. You're like, oh my goodness. So only recommendation I would have, make sure you have an extra battery.
Yeah. I'll do that. I think, this battery seems to have pretty good life on it. But yeah, if you're out, it said it was like 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on like if you're in turbo mode or not. I'm sure that changes over time.
It's just it blows my mind. Are you like a Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace? I don't know. Do you have an allegiance to any of these stores?
I would say I'm definitely a Home Depot guy at my core.
Hmm.
Atlanta, right? I think Ace, I believe it is the helpful place, and I support Ace. There's an Ace, that just went in nearby. They actually went in like 100 yards from like the local hardware store. I was like, damn, that's cold blooded.
Yeah, that's
Um,
brutal.
but the Ace has been good. I think overall though, like I've always been now at the Birdhouse Lowe's. I spent a lot of time at Lowe's down in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. But I just I feel like Home Depot is the most like where the pros go spot, versus like Lowe's has always felt more like for amateurs like me. If we're being honest, I probably should be more of a Lowe's guy, but Home Depot feels like, these guys invented this whole game. Like they're the that's where the contractors go.
I heard this story a long time ago, and it just popped in my head. I've never actually done any of the research, which I very easily could do. But I heard that Lowe's and Home Depot, they're always pretty close to each other, or at least it seems. And for some weird reason, somebody told me a long time ago that it originally started as Home Depot, and then there was some sort of divorce happened. And then whichever side started Lowe's to kind of get back at the other. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's false, but they're very close to each other. I'll agree with you. It does seem like Home Depot is the professional establishment. But
Well,
for
and also
me,
like Arthur Blank, Falcons fan, like got to support AB and Bernie Marcus. Like it's kind of one of the great business stories of our time. They kind of invented the category. And Ace is good. Ace is actually, I don't expect much when I go into Ace because it's kind of turned into like, it's grills. It's a little bit more like brand names. Like they're selling like grills, hot tubs. I mean, it's like basically a Yeti store. They sell so many coolers in
yes,
there. Like Yeti and Ace have like a deep partnership. So which is nice because you can go in there and buy like camping stuff, or like I went in and got some kindling. Like it feels a little bit more like the supermarket in some ways versus like, hey, I need like I need raw materials. I think, and I will say this: Home Depot gets me going. Like you get in there and you just feel like anything's possible. None of it's possible, and I'm the classic case of like in Jacksonville. I go to Home Depot, spend an hour in there, think I got everything I need to like put this hammock on the front porch, and then I had to go back like 2 more times because I forgot. Like, oh, I need this. I need like truly proving that I'm an amateur. But you go in there and you're like, God, oh my God, like anything is possible. I can like load all these tools. Maybe I should get a saw. I don't know. Do I need a nail gun? I could use a nail gun. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but maybe I should just get it. You just start like, nothing. I love Home Depot. I love walking the aisles of Home Depot. God, I am turning into my dad. That's crazy.
I love the fact that you can go there on any weekend morning and just see like people walking the aisles. It's very much it's so similar to grocery store etiquette. But you see people like they go there for a specific reason, and next thing you know, their cart is just full of stuff that they're like,
Yes.
"Well, I might get around to that. I don't know when
I'm
I'm gonna, but I might."
Well, but you pick up like, oh, you know what? I do need a couple weather rugs. Like why don't I pick those up while I'm here? Like actually, I could use an industrial trash can. And you know what? I'll get some more trash bags while I'm at it. Like they
Yeah.
have, it's just like I don't know. And I feel you feel the same way in Lowe's. I would say they're pretty equal, but Home Depot just has a little bit of that industrial feel,
Yeah.
less polish that makes you feel like, all right, we're doing stuff, man. And the garden supply, like the garden section is like sick.
We got
Um,
a new Lowe's going in up the road, and I'm so excited because just new stores and new employees that are all excited to open things up. I've been driving past it the last couple weeks. I'm like, oh, is it October 30th yet? Is it grand opening day yet? Come on. Plus, I got to give a shout out to my hitters at Lowe's. Home Depot probably does the same thing, but I get like a 20% discount for my veteran stuff at
and
Lowe's. So
and a good parking spot, right?
well, that's true. All depends on which community you find yourself in, though, because some people get mad as hell about the veteran parking spots. And listen, we can have that conversation if you
I mean,
want, but
those people suck. Those people suck. I think you should want. Actually, I got pissed at you because you refused to take advantage of the getting on the plane early when we were coming back
Well,
from
that is
Montana.
true.
And I think that's
I,
bullshit.
I
I was
didn't
like,
want to
get on the
leave my
fucking
brothers.
plane.
Well,
I didn't know. You should. You earned that shit. I'm not gonna go with you. You should have gotten you get to board before group one. You earned it. I had no problem with that or the parking spots. That's like, anybody that disagrees with that stuff can GTFO.
That's true. And thank you for your support, Neil. I appreciate it.
All
I take
right,
advantage of it
listen,
all the time, though.
speak dog doors. I wanted to revisit. We got to call out another dog, a subtle dog. Want to shout out
Ooh.
Rhoback. Fall golf is here officially. Rhoback is ready. Vests, hybrid jackets, hoodies, you name it. I've got on the heavy hoodie right now. It's obviously just a staple in the collection. I would like to introduce you to Rhoback's new Pace Q-Zip. The fabric is incredible, soft, stretchy, insanely comfortable. It has a nice custom metal zipper, ribbed collars, cuffs, and hem, and an elevated look. Think sweater, but more comfortable. We haven't been able to take it off. I actually do have this one as well, and it's fantastic. Second, the Rhoback Fulton Hybrid Jacket is slept on. Simple as that. It has a great lightly insulated torso with smooth, stretchy sides and sleeves, easy to swing in and comfortable for everyday wear. Finally, the Rhoback Delta pants are fantastic. They have a really nice, stretchy waistband to give you a little extra room and comfort. That's important for the quad fathers out there like myself, but they still maintain a perfect fit. The fabric is awesome, and they maintain a great look for everyday wear on and off the course. So if your fall fits need a refresh, now's the time. Head to rhoback.com. That's RHOBACK.com. Use code TRAP, TRAP, for 20% off your first order through the end of the week. Q-zips, jackets, pants, whatever you need. Rhoback has you covered this fall. Cody, where else you want to go?
Well, you got a lot going on. You mentioned the house. I'm sure there's a lot of baby proofing going on there, a lot of projects. But have you had any time, man? What you've been consuming? I know with all the house stuff, you've also been putting time in on the road. So what are you reading? Watching anything good? We need some good recommendations for the people.
Yeah, I finished Titan finally. What a tome that was. I really enjoyed it. So that was the biography of John D. Rockefeller, and there's a lot. Then they go in a little bit to John D. Rockefeller Jr. and all the stuff he had his hands in. We got a video coming out next week of TC and I exploring upstate New York, and shout out to Nelson and the government Empire Plaza that he put together up in Albany. Outrageous. Anyway, moved on. I picked up a novel that I had kind of on the back burner for a while, The Lincoln Highway, which has been really good. I've enjoyed it. I think it won some book awards a few years back, and I think the guy that wrote it, it's like the only like book or novel he's written, and it's just like it's kind of like a 1950s post World War II, some kind of not orphans, but like young adults, just like moving across the country on like the Lincoln Highway. Basically goes from Times Square to San Francisco, and they're like in Nebraska. Anyway, I would recommend it. It's been good reading for me before bed, and I've kept up with that. I almost like can't go to sleep unless I like at least pick up my book, my Kindle. So that's been good. Carson and I watched, what's the show called? It was on Netflix, The Rabbit, with Jason Bateman, who I think like produced and he directed some of the episodes, and Jude Law, and it was good. Actually, one of the Netflix shows I've actually enjoyed recently. Bateman's great. I have been laughing though. He's kind of starting to play the same character, and I saw a couple of online. I don't know if they knew I was watching this show, but I got served a couple of videos on Instagram of like guys doing Bateman impressions. Like, yeah, hey, like it was basically like Jason Bateman ordering a Jersey Mike's. It was like, yeah, hey guy, we're not gonna do it Mike's way, okay? We're gonna do it my way, okay? I don't know who Mike is. All right, got that guy? Okay, cool. Like like his delivery is so unique, but it's like he's playing in this show. He's playing his like deadpan vibe, different character, but very similar to what was the Cartel show that he was in that I watched with Laura Linney. I can't remember the name of that one. Ozark.
Ozark.
Similar to Ozark, like all this chaos is going on around him, and he's just like, "Hey, guy, don't worry about it. let's not. We don't need. You don't need to get the guns out. Come on, hey, bud, come on. It's just me. He was kind of like that. That whole Bateman bit is just kind of which works, and I'm into it. And I think I'm always a fan of Jude Law. I think that guy's got some chops. So I would recommend The Rabbit is the most
Black
recent
Rabbit.
show I've watched. Black Rabbit. There we go. The Black Rabbit. The restaurant in the show is called The Rabbit, but Black Rabbit, entertaining. And I keep hearing about Task. I need to get into that one on HBO, but got several people recommend that to me. But those are kind of the two off the top of my head. What about you?
Yeah, I'll meet you there with Task. So I think we watched the first episode and everybody recommended it. And they all told us, hey, the first two episodes, it takes a while to get going. But the first episode was very, very good. Same director as Mayor of Easttown. And I'm excited there. My guilty pleasure though, which doesn't make it's like so not real by any means. And you can chalk this up to like the vast majority of military or veteran movies as well. But the second season, or maybe it's the third season of The Diplomat on Netflix is out. And stuff like that just gets me going. I was a huge fan of House of Cards, even though you're like, it's so over the top of shit that happens. But The Diplomat follows this couple who was our ambassador in England. And then now all of a sudden things have kind of changed in new positions in the government. And it's just, I don't know, it gets my rocks off because of the pure fantasy side of it of like things don't actually work this way.
Well, that's what I
Or
was going
maybe
to
they
say.
do.
I
Who
watched a
knows?
couple episodes of the first season of that, and I would have thought you'd be like, this is not at all realistic, and that would frustrate you.
Well,
But I
kind
guess
of.
not.
I mean, it kind of does. Military movies, like when it's very like nail on the head, I'm like, this is so dumb. This isn't, especially things that try to act like they're true stories. You're like, this isn't how it actually happened. Now I understand a lot of things just get like Hollywood over, and there's shit that happens, and I find that The Diplomat is very fascinating strictly because of like the storytelling aspect of it. Very much like I felt House of Cards was, where there's like enough similarities to kind of figure out what's going on, but also you're like, whoa, what are you talking about? You're like, people don't just get pushed in front of trains and like all this other crazy shit. Um,
Yeah.
but
House of Cards was a great rewatch. I watched that when the first like 3-4 weeks on basically paternity leave with Petey. So and it was nice because it's like you're rewatching a show, so you don't need to like pay attention completely.
right.
But you're like, oh yeah, I forgot this show kind of slaps, and then it gets, like any show, every season gets more and more outrageous.
It's been good. I think, fall baseball on. I've watched a ton of baseball, which I haven't really done the rest of the year. And that's specifically because I put myself like on a social media timeout, basically, is I don't look at social media apps after 5 p.m.
That's
And it's been
fantastic. I love hearing that.
the best thing that's ever happened. And what I've noticed, I brought this up to you a couple days ago, is that what I've noticed now is because I'm not like doom scrolling late into into the evening, my algorithm somehow has been like flushed out. So I'm not getting served like the worst things in the world. I'm back to like normal stuff of, you know, stuff that I like to consume, whether that's food or cooking stuff or just
The
maybe a guy just
chiropractor videos.
chiropractors videos are back. Mountain bike crashes are back. People just cleaning rugs. I don't know why it's so
Sure.
therapeutic to me, but for a while there, it was deep, man. And I think it's just been a crazy summer, and I think it has kind of captured people a lot
Well,
of
let me
different
ask you about
ways.
the algo cleanse. Because I've been active in like doing some active muting and
Muting doesn't
uh
work.
or just like show me less of it. Like if you're in
Yes.
the like this is for like X a lot too. It's like, dude, I don't want to like show me less of this. Like I don't want are you doing that? Are you taking an active role in that, or you just
Well,
think
I'll
that not
say
spending as much time is helping more?
for Twitter specifically, I've turned off every possible like notification. I don't know why I used to have, maybe for a while it defaulted to have like some notifications on. And I'm not talking about like notifications on my phone so I see what things are happening. But like when you open it up and it's like, these are your recent friends who just tweeted or sent something. Like I stopped doing all of that. Uh,
Yeah.
and which I don't even know really how. I unfollowed a bunch of crazy accounts that used to not be crazy, but during the summer of madness started posting a lot of crazy stuff. And a lot of that came from some veterans accounts and things like that that have gotten just so overly political on things that I think the algorithm just starts naturally picking up things and showing them to you. And I'm not talking about like my For You page or anything. I'm just like, there's things that people don't necessarily need to be served up 24 hours a day. And I just have stopped it all. So I use Twitter very much as when I have something that I need to post, or if it's a company thing, or if I'm searching something out, I'll go use it. And I am not even spending any of my time on the platform. Now, Instagram's a different story because I think there's a lot of other content that you can find there. But it took a while for that to flesh out as
It's
well.
such a good something I've been observing because I've been taking, we'll just call it out. No egghead this week. Listen, the egghead
This
of the
month.
month this month. We'll put that on timeout. I had to step away from the online commentary the last month or two because it was not great for my headspace, which is that's a different story. But I want to bring up something trap draw related. So Randy and TC had Mayor Pete on,
Yep.
and it was it's like a pretty, I thought, like engaging conversation. No matter what you think about Mayor Pete, and he, through his Chivas staff, they reached out to us. They're like, yeah, why not? We'll have him on. I found it so fascinating to compare the vibe of commentary by platform.
Yep.
Like like X was just like pretty horrible stuff.
Really bad.
YouTube was like really pretty thoughtful, like people, because it's almost like people were actually listening to the episode of like, oh, that was a pretty cool conversation. Like, I don't agree with the guy's politics, but like, I thought they did a good job. Spotify's comments were like a little bit more like on the left side. Like, I love Mayor Pete, like, and then Instagram was kind of like right down the middle, I think. And I noticed that more recently than in, we've been doing this now 11 years. God, it's just becoming different vibes, and different platforms have different people or different,
Yeah,
I
different
don't know, like
platforms have different
tones.
tribes.
Yeah,
That's
different
what it
tones of
is.
conversation. It is something to behold. Yeah. And I mean, even for us, I sense the last 3 months, like I'm kind of blown away by, even in the golf space, how tribal it's gotten a little bit. It's like, oh, you can't like them if you like them. It's like, I don't really believe that it has to be an either or thing when it comes to like golf content, but these are just like observations you're having. But that Mayor Pete one was crazy because it was like, oh my God, if you only went to X, you'd be like, damn, tough. And then you go to Instagram, like, oh, actually no. And then YouTube, like, oh, people loved it. So it's like, it's that seems to be getting accentuated more in the last year than it has in the past, which I just find, I've just observed. I'll leave it there.
But I think uh, Mayor Pete was a great example of somebody who said, like, did not cause any waves in what he discussed on the episode. People just don't listen to the episodes. They don't really watch the content before they jump on the social media, whatever platform it is, and comment on it, which is fine. I guess that's a lesson that we are continuously learning for it. But it's just one of those things where you could literally just put a picture of Mayor Pete on them, and you probably would have gotten the same reactions
Yeah.
outside of a clip, which is I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing, but at the end of the day, I do strongly believe that like our freedom of speech is something that we should continuously protect, no matter if you agree or disagree with somebody. Like I love the fact that we live in a country that has that value, and you can say things on social media and you're not persecuted for it. I know right now, like in the UK, that's like a very delicate situation because people are being charged with saying things online. But the flip side of that, is that you have millions of of shitheads, and 90% of them like bot accounts that are just doing things constantly to inflame everything, and you're like, what
Yeah.
the hell is going on? It's very, very weird.
Which is, yeah, and it kind of makes me think even more about like, okay, what platform, like we control the podcast platform, but we don't, I'd say just from a business standpoint, if I'm looking at the year, like I don't look at social media as like something that we own, or like I don't think we've been as thoughtful about our social content as we should have been this year. I would say that's like as we're heading into next year and we're doing a bunch of like, recap conversations and planning conversations. It's like, okay, cool. We probably had a little bit too much like sponsored stuff, but I'm like, it's just kind of a cesspool. So I'm like, okay, like I feel like that just all gets caught up in the wash. I push back when people are like, oh, you're not being thoughtful about the podcast. I'm like, dude, I don't think there hasn't been a year where we've been more thoughtful about it and worked harder on like that specific part, that and the video stuff, which is like, no, we own this stuff. This is the art. And I think another thing that I've been surprised by, I guess it's kind of just in like the macro egghead category, is how binary the feedback's been. It's like if people didn't like one episode or one thing, it's like the content's gone so
They gone.
downhill. Yeah, and it's like, man, I think there's just some like we could just like do less of that. There's a few things like, oh, maybe we had too many sponsored segments this year. Yeah, you know what? Hand up, we probably did. Maybe we thought that would be a good way to get a sponsor involved, but people are turned off by that. Guess what? We can just like do less of them. Like it's not like
Yeah, for sure.
nothing's permanent. At least for our business, I don't find anything to be permanent, which is what I love about it. But the commentary becomes what I find exhausting, and why I had to step away from some of it is like it's all over. Like they're cooked. Like everything's you can't it can't change, and just like gone are the days of X. And it's like, well, I don't know, man. Like it's the off season of golf. Like we got to be able to try some new stuff out. We're not going to bat 1,000 on every episode. It's just, yeah. Deej and I were talking about the concept, which hasn't hit me as hard until this year, of audience capture.
Yep.
Where like basically you build an audience that really likes what you're doing, which is, people are fired up about it. And then it's like, well, I want you to make the specific thing that I like. And if I really find feedback helpful, but it can paralyze you, into like, hey, listen, I think what I wish I could explain to people, or the response I've been, quiet, and I wouldn't say I've like, stuck up for myself lately, or us as much online, because it's such a time suck, is you can not like something, but the accusation that we're not being thoughtful is what bothers me. It's like, God, man, we thought, like, even with us recently on the NLU pod with Dr. Sasho talking heads up putting. It's like the people that didn't watch or listen to the podcast online, like, oh, this is just SpawnCon. It's like, no, we talked about that. It's like, I know it would potentially be viewed that way, but I that was one of my favorite conversations of the year. Like, I'm still thinking about some of the stuff he said. I don't agree with all of it. And I wish there's a couple follow-ups I wish I would have asked, but like, people can accuse you of like, oh, that's a conflict of interest because he's a sponsor. I'm like, well, he's also a subject matter expert,
Yes.
and again, I guess my point is like, all right, if that wasn't for you and you think that like we're just making the sponsors happy, that's fine. But I wish there was a benefit of the doubt that like we thought about that. We literally discussed that we would be accused of that, and we still did the episode, which I think is like, that's exactly what I would want from a podcast I was listening to. I laugh sometimes about, I listen to like business podcasts, and, you like Patrick O'Shaughnessy or the Prof G or whoever, like half the time they're bringing on people that they're invested in, they're talking to like the Airbnb CEO, and they're like a big shareholder or whatever. And I'm like, I don't find like that's a conflict of interest. I don't really care though, because I think the conversation's interesting. And as long as they're not only doing that, I'm like, I for the people that I'm like investing my time with, I'm like, I guess you just got to assume or give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think that I see more of like no benefit of the doubt, which is that binary thinking of like, oh, these guys are cooked. They've lost their way. It's like, man, I wish that at least there was a little bit more credit to like, no, they're thoughtful. Maybe I don't know the whole story. Like that's my reaction when I see people do like, oh man, that's not an episode for me, or they're doing more of that. But it's like there must be like a decent reason for it. You know what I mean? Other
Well, I
than
think
like you guys sold out and you're soulless now.
there's a couple points that I want to touch on here. Is that number one, we live in a world where everything that we consume is basically catered to us via algorithms.
Yeah.
So if people, whether that's Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, getting on Google, scrolling on any social media platform, it is showing us what a computer thinks we want to see. So when they come to, consume something like ours, that 99% of the time probably aligns with what they want to hear, what they want to see, what they want to feel. When there's something that's off, I think it's a great thing that people vocalize that.
Yeah.
It is it's on us how we want to receive that. And we are very, 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 very fortunate that like we don't get negative stuff. Like even if you look at this summer, you can go look at any of the other creators that are in this space, get it so much worse than NLU ever does. But I understand it's very personal, and it feels personal, and it always feels like it's a lot heavier than it actually is.
It definitely is personal for me, just because a lot of, I mean, even like this conversation, it's like a lot of it's like me talking about my life, So it's like when somebody's like, "Yo, the boost sucks," it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah. And I'm gonna keep doing it, but it is, yeah. And you're right, we don't get it as bad as a lot of other people, and I hope that's because
I'll
most
say
people,
this.
like a majority of people, do think we're being thoughtful about things. Because I promise you, we are. Like it's pretty much all I think about
Yeah.
is like, how do we be good stewards of this? Like, I think we got a really good thing, and I think our best is still ahead of us. And I just like, just, but it takes a little bit of time. Like, all right, we got to like retool things. We got to figure out what we want to do next year. And, trying to do that. This is the first time trying to do that with like a lot of life stuff going on and a second kid. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling like I'm busting at the seams a little bit.
Nah, we got
And
this, baby. Come on. Come on, come on, come on,
yeah,
come on. Hey, the second side of that, or second point that I want to make, is that I am so proud that we put the time in years ago to actually come up with a mission statement. And it's something that we do not joke around about. And really the keys of the mission statement, if you look at it, whether it's informing, entertaining, educating, that conversation with Sasha was going to happen with us either way.
yeah,
Why the hell is sitting there in like all the conversations that we've had with him? If we think that is going to help anyone out there, why would we not make that a podcast? And
I
that is on
agree.
that is on us, our decision, but also the audience. Like, I understand that not everything is meant for everyone. And I don't like using the term benefit of the doubt, because we live in this world where people every single day, they expect people to like, no, prove that to me. Prove
Yeah.
that to me. And I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily true, or if that's just the feeling that we're internalizing because of this year or this time, era, and who knows. But it's very, very weird. I've never felt things more tribal and separate than they are now. And this is coming from the guy who, we're like, I don't even know how many more days we're into it, but like, I rely on our government for quite a bit of stuff, specifically when it comes to my mental health. I've had 3 of my therapy appointments canceled because of the government shutdown, and I'm fine. Okay, I'm fine. I don't want to people to think that I'm not doing good. I'm doing well. I'm doing amazing. But that's part of my routine, and
Sure.
that is a benefit that is provided to me based off of my years of service. And I know that the government shut down, and that's just a small little schism in all of this that we're talking about. I just have never been alive in an area where people of power, or even the people that are saying things from their little tribe that supports them, are so far off base than like what everyday people are trying to do. And like everyone's just trying to like feed their families and take care of their communities, and like, be safe at a damn T-ball or soccer game or something like that, and make sure that their bills are paid. And people are so far off of that now, and they're so into whatever the algorithm is showing them that doesn't necessarily like have a direct reflection or like direct events in their everyday life. And I just want people to realize that like there is going to be an end to all of this, but it takes everybody coming together and having normal conversations to figure out how to get there. Because living in these like little silos that we are right now isn't the way that anything's going to get better. Just going to continue to get
Yeah.
worse. And it stinks.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you say there is like there's like a general air of pessimism across like like lack of trust and stuff, and it almost like that leaks into how people they're probably just like pessimistic about like a lot of other stuff. Then they see us like, oh, cool, these guys sold out too. Like it's like, oh man, I know it's not like that, right? I don't. So you get kind of caught up in it, and I agree with you too. Like people when they see something they don't like, they should say like, I don't like this, and I'm like, okay, and then it's up to us to say like, well, I do like it, or
Yeah.
I still think it's a good where I've struggled recently with our content is like people zooming in on specific stuff to use it as a macro point. Like one episode, like, see, these guys stink now. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like I'd zoom out a little bit. I think it's been like some pretty good stuff this year, like working my nuts off. And part of me does want a little bit of credit for like effort. It's like, man, we're working hard, and I think the quality is really good, and it's just like there's a flippant vibe that bugs me of like, yeah, well, it's not as good as it used to be, so F those guys. And I'm like, well, just doesn't mean we can't get back there. I think we can,
And
but
it's all just feelings. It's feelings based because the
I know,
flip side, I have, obviously being in charge of and having oversight. I don't want to say being in charge, having oversight of our overall podcast operations, but then specifically like running live shows. And I'm so happy that live show season is done for the year because talk about like burnout. By the time we got through Ryder Cup, I was like, yeah, dad needs to like put the brain down for a second.
yeah,
Anyway, the people who say that we're cooked, like answering them and being like, well, I could like show you the numbers and we're not only like doing better than what we forecasted, like we're doing the best ever. Like
yeah,
that's not like the answer that they're looking for. And I
I
don't know
know,
what the answer that they're actually that they want. I don't even think they really want like engagement into that. I just think that that's a thought that they had and they're like, okay, I'm either in or I'm out, and like they're moving along. But I'll say to this is that all the people that say that they're out, like they're at least numbers wise, they're not
some of
really
them
out,
aren't out. I know.
which is funny.
I guess what I'd say is like some people it's like, yo man, I heard you again, I heard you over and over again. It's like you kind of just like give me a break, man. Like I'm not coming to your office and telling you fucking suck every day.
True. Hey,
Uh,
speaking of going in and telling people they suck or not suck, I mean, you were invited to speak at a pretty big deal last week.
I got maybe a charity invite because I'm a Columbia grad, but the business school put on like a sports management conference. And yeah, I haven't been on like spoke on a panel discussion. I sometimes get imposter syndrome on stuff like that. It was like the CTO of the TGL, guy that runs
Well,
the grass league and grass clippings, which I think is a fantastic business. I never dug in, but the par 3 league out in Scottsdale, I think that has legs. And then Joe, the guy that runs Pro Shop Holdings, like the full swing stuff. And it was a fun panel. I would say, I had some hot takes. I got to fire off. I asked everybody. My highlight for me was it was like, what would the advice you would give somebody that's trying to get into your business? And I was like, okay, like everybody else gave good advice about like getting into golf or media or whatever. And I was like, hey, we were the last panel. We went after Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, who was a ledge, by the way. Talk about a guy that's flipped the script. Everybody
for
hated that
sure.
guy. Now he's like been around 30 years. And everyone's like, oh, what a steady hand Gary Bettman's been. And he, I didn't realize that he worked for David Stern for like 12 years as the chief legal officer of the NBA. So I never really like But his keynote was really good right before us. So we were the last one of the day, and I was like, "Hey, audience, like, raise your hand." This is towards the end. I was like, "What? How many of you are students?" It was like, "Oh shit!" It's like 80%. So I fired off my classic take of like, "My advice to you is go to office hours." And
There you go.
every year that goes by, I feel more strongly about like my point is like, okay, I didn't go to office hours when I was a student. I was like scared to, it's like you got the tenured professors, Nobel Prize winners, experts, whatever, like kind of intimidating people. And you're in these big lectures once a week. They're paid to sit in a room and they have to talk to you. And you should go and try to have a conversation with them, because like the minute you get out of school, at least I realized, selling software, but even now is like the whole point, like you talking to pro golfers, like, can you handle yourself with influential people? Like, can you be curious? Can you handle, like, can you almost practice, like, are they enjoying a conversation with you is a good skill to have, because like in sales, all it was like, can I get in the room with a decision maker, in air quotes, and now it's like, can you can you do a podcast with a pro golfer? Can you, or go to a photo shoot and like, I don't know, just converse with like influential people. And I just think that office hours is basically like the best training you could ever have for that. Like, can you go into your, I think about this guy, Carl Hart, who was like taught this drugs and behavior class. He's like the expert on drugs in the US. Absolute menace. And like, could you go in there and just like talk shop with him is a really good skill, which is like back then super intimidating. Now I would kill to be able to do that. Guys, like, he's on all the podcasts. Like, that guy rules, and it's like, oh man, I'd love to have him on like the Trap Draw to talk about like drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
anyway, that was my advice to the students. I love firing off that take. It's not a new one for me, but I will, I'm going to keep doing it every chance I get.
Well,
But it was
very
good. I
good.
caught up with Peter. Shout out to Peter Pilling, the AD came, Columbia athletic director, and I spent some time with him after. Walked up, checked in on the new basketball coach at Columbia. Football team struggling this year. They lost a heartbreaker to Penn on homecoming on Saturday. But that's all right. They're retooling. They're young this year. So we'll hopefully they build some momentum heading into next season.
Good. You
But good to be
mentioned
back on
one.
campus. Last thing I'll say, sorry. Great to be back on campus. It is a bummer that like you weren't even really allowed to be. I was like in the student center, Lerner Hall, which is like on the southwest corner of like the main campus. And I was able to like walk out the building to get onto like the main college quad. But like all the gates you have to have like a student ID to get on campus because all that protest stuff. It's like, that sucks, man. That's just kind of a sign of like, this is why we can't have nice things. You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of a bummer, but it's always good to get back up there. Probably been 2.5 years since I've been up there. And a lot of like college is really hard for me. So I don't have like, it wasn't like, oh, best years of my life. In some ways, yes. In some ways, it's like some good and bad nostalgia kind of rolls back in when I'm on College Rock. I'm like, oh man, some of this I try to like, Columbia is like a pressure cooker for me and like not a normal college experience to what a lot of people probably have. So, but it's kind of good to go check in with that. You're like, oh man, that's kind of cool. I was able to speak at like a conference on campus. Like that made me feel kind of cool and good about myself, which is nice.
No, that's sweet, Neil. And I love the fact that you're giving guidance and advice out there to all the young students. I'll say this: you put out one thing, but what's one thing that you learned from being around all the power players that be?
I was talking to Columbia AD afterwards, and I think what I'm noticing is, and I think is good for golf, is a lot of people are pushing their chips in and making bets right now. There's a lot of money, a lot of, TGL is a good example of that. I don't think the TGL is for everybody, but like they're going for it. And I appreciate that. And like this grass league stuff, like not all this stuff is going to work out, but like I don't want to see the core of golf change. I always want kind of the pinnacle to be like there's a tradition. That's what I think makes like the PGA Tour special and the majors and all that. Like, I don't want anybody to change the size of golf holes and, change the rules or whatever. But I do like seeing like this guy, Jake, who runs the grass league. Like his goal is to make par 3 golf like its own sport. And I'm like, I like that. It's like, yeah, make it its own thing. And he's got a lot of passion for that. And as a short course guy, I'm like, man, I think that's how you're going to get kids into it. You can play at night. It makes golf like a legitimate business opportunity, which if you want growth in the game, you're going to have to, embrace like smaller pieces of land and maybe a different format of golf in a similar way to how, things have changed with cricket, or other
Yep.
sports where it was like, oh, it just took too long, and we need to change the format. Doesn't mean that the original version is bad or should go away or shouldn't be played, the way it always has been. It's just like there's probably room to change it up. And I'm cool with that not being, as I get older, not being for me. Kind of being open to those ideas is where I was like, again, I think a lot of people trying to do a lot of things in golf right now. I don't think all of them are going to work, but I appreciate that people are like, you know, making some bets, and it makes it interesting. That's kind of what I learned.
Yeah, and I mean, you describing that immediately flashes back, and I've referenced this on a lot of No Laying Up podcasts, but the fact that when we were in Korea a couple years ago, and there literally was two golf channels, just two specific golf dedicated channels, just to amateur golf. One of them was nighttime only amateur golf, and the other one was just par three. And
Yeah.
you like see, golf for some reason we think of golf as like, oh, it's just the United States thing, but there's things like that are popping up all over the world that like could work, could not. But if it's getting more people invested in the game, I think that's a great thing.
Well, the panel was like innovation in golf, and I feel a little bit like, I don't know. In some ways, our goal is like, I think we've innovated in how we talk about the game, and we've definitely done some innovative stuff with how we deliver our content. But I don't try to brand us as like this disruptive force. It's like I'm just trying to be the best version of us, and like that. Sometimes, like when people are like, what are your goals? Like, I don't really want to take over the world. I don't want to like. It's like the joke I always have is like, what's your 5-year plan? Like, don't fuck it up.
You could say that.
I mean, because it's the more I think about it, the more I feel that way, and
Yeah.
then that's where you get stuck in this, like with like what we were talking about earlier with this online commentary of like, go back to doing it how you used to. Like there's this push and pull of um like, so yeah. Anyway, you got to just kind of stick to like, how do we just keep doing what we're passionate and curious about, and like finding different things. Oh yeah, actually we can take a little bit of this innovation and a little bit of that. And so I again, I felt like a little bit of an imposter. Like I don't have a ton of like I'm not using a lot of AI. That's what you want me to talk about. Like I actually think that, but then, we have been talking as well about like, okay, the AIification of content is coming. It's going to make all this content online look polished. And for us, like something we've always gotten a lot of credit and complimented for over the last 10 years is like, oh, your stuff looks high quality. And it's like, that's just going to become like, table stakes for online content. Like, so what separates is like, well, it better have some soul and some taste. And it's like, it's hard to say like, oh, taste is innovative, but it's like, it kind of might be. It's like, again, another place to zag. It's like, okay, everybody's going to start using AI to chop up their podcast and put a million clips out. And it's like, well, if you're just going to flood the zone with that stuff, like, I don't know. I think being militantly human about it is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but then there's a bit of a push and pull there of like, well, it's hard to scale up a human operation like that. You know what I mean? And like, I kind of get stuck between like, I do want to grow our business. I'm like proud of the business that we've built. I just, I don't want to grow it too fast. I don't want to get accused of growing it the wrong way. A lot of weird stuff bouncing around in my head these days.
Fascinating. And
Especially being up there with a bunch of like companies that have investors, and like, they've raised money to make bets, man. And that's like, that's one way to go about this stuff. And I don't think that's the way that we're going about it. So
yeah, but
no right answer to this stuff. It's just, it is what it is.
For sure. And scale does not necessarily have like it's not a 1-for-1 to impact. Okay. So
No, it's
don't
not.
think that like, evaluation equates to, any other way that you want to look at it, or else, I think we're doing very, very good. We talk about growth internally a lot, and I know you always get. It's funny when you bring up the 5-year plan, but like there is a very thought out growth strategy. We're just
There
doing
is.
it
That's
doing
me
it your own
dumbing it
way.
down. But at the see, I do want to emphasize though, like we don't have any investors.
Correct.
So like number one is always don't fucking go out of business. And I don't think people realize like how that is always in the back of your head, especially when you're going into like year 12. Like don't do something stupid. And that could be on like the trying to do something too quickly, and also the like, yeah, don't ruin the original product. But when you try to grow or start new stuff, like, and you take your eye off the original product, it turns into spinning plates a little bit. So trying to figure out how to get more efficient is a big priority heading into next year. Um,
Mm. And
which
taking care of babies, a big priority
and
for
take
next year.
well, that's the thing. It's like it's not like I'm getting more time. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna have less time to think about this stuff. But I think it's doable, and I think we got some good ideas. And again, I guess I go back to like I get a lot of joy, and I feel like a lot of pride and responsibility when I felt like for the last 10 years there were a lot of people rooting for us. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, man, I
Yeah.
really like I'm just rooting for you guys. And and that cuts both ways, because lately, the last 3 months, it feels like there's a lot of people rooting for our demise. And it's a small number, but like, you know what I mean? It can feel like a very loud, small number. And so that cuts both ways. And so it's like, okay, maybe you need to detach yourself from like the value you get from people rooting for you, and just like, you know, get that juice internally from like doing what you think is right, and trying, knowing that when you lay your head on the pillow, you truly believe, and I do believe this, like you're being a good steward of something that a lot of people like. You know what I mean? Like that's my goal. It's like, I don't want to say that we're like flipping out of growth mode, but it's like stewardship and growth are different things. And I talked a little bit about this when we went to see Titleist. Like I'm impressed with how they're stewards of like being the number one ball in golf, and all the money and investment and time and attention and care they put into innovating. Whether or not you think the golf ball goes too far, what's interesting is that like both things can be true of like, man, these guys really care about the excellence of their product. And like, yeah, maybe like it needs to be regulated. Like those two things to me are like, I can hold both those thoughts in my head. And I'm just so impressed by like how they do things being around 90 years. Is like, I love that. I'm like, man, I want to keep doing this, and I want to be a good steward of it. And sometimes that means like, okay, you got to like say no to certain opportunities, and you got to like, you kind of have to run your own race. And like, when you see all this stuff around you, people are scaling up and placing bets, like even that, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I was like feeling that on stage. I'm like, damn, people are going hard. People are doing big things. I mean, it's hard. You feel a little bit of like keep up with the Joneses vibe there. So anyway, now I'm rambling. God, we're deep in it now, Cody. Hour and a
That
half.
was. Listen, you just peeled another layer off. Hey, well said though. I think the good thing about it is that at no other point in time as I felt like that there's everybody that is in the boat is all rowing together, and we all are you know pointed toward the horizon and just trying to make it all happen together. There's no
Yes.
real individualism at all to it. Everybody is firmly
Which is
just in
why
sync.
I got the FOMO of missing the club championship. Like
Mhm.
that's another thing of like, we don't get to do stuff in person as much. I want to do more of that next year. But you also want to make sure that like the travel doesn't burn everybody out, and you know, we're still like able to put out a the right amount of content, which is candidly easier to do from home. So these are all good problems to have. That's another thing I try to like remind myself of, because I have the last couple months I felt a little like frantic in the mornings, and I did a little Q&A in our newsletter, and it was like I feel like I'm doing my son a disservice, because I'm like, I would love to. I'm at my best when I wake up. I wake up like around 6:15, and I want to get right to it. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, you can't. Like that's when he's at his best. I need to come up with a better routine in the mornings where I'm not feeling frantic to get to work, and then feeling like I have too much to do and not enough time, that's just a sign of like we're a little disorganized. And I take that personally because I feel like that's a product of me and my life being disorganized. But we'll fix it. It's not nothing terminal. And again, like these are good problems to have. I'm sure everybody goes through them. The last thing I want to say, I want to end on a dub, Cody. Mock Neck Monday is back in a big way. We're 4 in a row. It is the season. Got a new closet. So the mock necks are front and center, hanging now. They're not in a drawer. So it's like every Monday I'm like, it's a lot easier. Like, oh yeah, it's Mock Neck Monday. Put that thing on. So that's I've gotten some joy out of that the last 4 Mondays.
I love it. Love it. And don't worry about my goals. I'm going to hit them all.
Well, give me one. Give me a 1 goal update.
Well, pounding the pavement, signed back up for another 50-miler that I have the first weekend in December. So I'm excited about that. I am a little bit concerned, I will say, because it's literally like, I think the weekend after Thanksgiving. And, I go pretty hard for Thanksgiving. I got family coming down to Texas, and it's going to be a fun occasion, but just got to stay with it. I'm on a good path. My longest that I've done so far is 32 miles. I do have concerns a little bit about, they're not a sponsor of this specific podcast, but my Whoop numbers have been all over the place. So I got to hit up my hitters there and figure it out. But I'm going to do it. Time is not.
So your foot's all right?
Foot's dialed. We're so far past that, and I got a new rotation of like 3 different running shoes that I'm going through. So
hell yeah.
As much as I don't want to blame it on footwear, I think a lot of it had to do with some footwear and insoles. Getting old when you start, buying insoles.
I know.
Neil, is not a good sign.
All right. Well, hey, good luck. Play well. I hope you make the finals, club championship.
I know.
That video will go out in December, but guy, it seems like you played some good golf at the Reese Club Championship. I mean, Ben's gonna be tough to beat. Your boy has been trial by fire in the Kansas Mid-Am.
For sure.
Coming in hot.
But you never know. You never know what happens. But it'll be fun. I love it when everybody gets together. Of course, you're going to be missed, but we'll send you a FaceTime or something like that to get you in some fireside chats. Anyway,
please do. I'll be doing some deep thinking here and getting my home front in order. It's good. Of course, I think a good decision. All right,
thank you to our friends at Rhoback. Stone Creek Drew again crushed it. And hey, go to stonecreek.com because Drew's doing a lot of stuff for our buddy Jake Trago. And keep showing up, and he's got some new merch, different roasts, everything else. So appreciate Drew not only sponsoring the content, but like going a step beyond and like being a very active member of the community. It's awesome. And of course, presenting sponsor ServPro. Hit up that listener line 833-330-8725, and we'll be back next week. Ball knowers, I'm pumped.
Or seamsters, who knows? You never know with the trap draw.
All right, cheers.